close enough, early enough, late enough, whatever. 5 minutes to 8, I figure I will get started because I might get called away. I probably will get called away to work on this show that I am super thankful to have. Some union work after a long drought, but I also want to make time for you guys because really I have you guys to thank for keeping me invested in doing audio post-production. I got pretty close to taking a like a construction job when things got really slow. So thank you guys for motivating me to keep going, especially like channel members and anybody who's bought something off my website. If it wasn't for you guys, I would probably be on a roof somewhere in the heat, shingling or doing gutters or framing or something like that. So my skin thanks you and my body definitely thanks you as well. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be doing some more mixing on this short. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get through all of the sound effects in Foley and we have a pretty polished, I wouldn't say maybe finished product, but it might be like 90% of the way there. So luckily I don't have a director sitting behind me to nitpick everything and I can kind of just do whatever I want with it. If you guys are working on your own projects, you probably won't have that luxury unless you're the director. So part of the process is, you know, taking notes from people and making them happy creatively, which I think I've gone over in a video, but that might be a good subject for something. Make sure, let me know in the chat if like you can hear and see me because I can't tell. It seems like it's working, but who knows with all this technology. What we did last time in the little baby 30-minute stream that I was able to just slap together at the last second was go through our A sound effects, which were all the fighty sound effects, punches, hits, body falls, stuff like that. So we're going to say those are good enough for now. And we're just going to go down the line. You'll see I have Foley muted. I think I have the backgrounds up like they're not muted. Yeah, they're not muted, but we'll get to all this stuff. I like to mix from the top down, meaning starting from the most important sound, which tends to be dialogue, then do the music, and then do the important sound effects first, and then end up with just like backgrounds and Foley, which tend to be, for the majority of projects, the lowest prioritized sounds in the mix. There's always exceptions to that. Sometimes the Foley carries the story, sometimes the backgrounds. Like Apocalypto is a great example. There's like a lot of ambience going on in there that helps tell the story, but for like all the bread and butter indie low budget stuff and even a lot of big budget stuff, the dialogue and the music are kind of the dialogue is king, let's say music is queen, and then the other food groups of sound effects are going to be like the rooks and the knights and the pawns. I probably Foley would be the pawns. That's like something you get asked to turn down a lot, or sometimes mute. The director will say, just turn off the Foley. Let's use production. So thanks, Justin, for letting me know video and audio are good. I don't expect we're going to get a bunch of people because I normally do streams on Tuesday, but since I kind of shortchanged you guys yesterday, or maybe it was Monday, I forget which day. That's right, it was Monday. It was Monday because, yes, Monday I was just editing stuff on my own, and then yesterday, I actually got to supervise a session, which was super fun. Way more engaging than just sitting here in my dark office cutting stuff. It was nice. Even though it was virtual, it was via Zoom. Still more fun than just sitting here by myself. Okay, so we'll just jump right in here. Let me just play something and make sure I got audio coming out the stream. Yeah, that seems to work. Shouldn't have any feedback. I downloaded this plugin called Mute-O-Matic. Somebody suggested Sound Radix, and great suggestion. I forget if you're watching this and you're the one who suggested this, just let me know, because it's awesome. It's really cool. I can see other uses for this, but for streaming it's great because I can listen on my monitors. I don't have to have headphones on, but still have a microphone up without feedback. So great suggestion there. Okay, so our B sound effects tracks. A is punches, fight sounds, that kind of stuff, body falls. Our B sound effects are weapons. So let's see what we've got here. And let me just make my stems tiny so I can more efficiently mix. Okay, so we've got a boom, basically a thump. We'll go ahead and send that to the LFE bus. I'm pretty conservative with the LFE. I don't want it kicking all the time. And Josh, thanks for tuning in. I don't like to use the LFE like 100% of the time. Some mixers will end up sending all their music stem there, and all this. I've even seen background sent to the 0.1 on the 5.1 bus. So I just use it for, like, to me it's like sriracha hot sauce, or Cholula or Tapatio, whatever your poison is for that. It's just here and there for extra oomph. It's not a bass management channel. It's just for extra stuff. And you can see, maybe I'll bring up, you know what I should do? I've got this pro limiter so you guys can kind of see what levels I'm at, but maybe I'll bring up the pro limiter that's on my 5.1 Printmaster aux. You can actually see, you can kind of see the meters here, but it might be better if you can see it bigger. So let me do that. So you guys are listening in stereo, but I'm showing a combo mix, 5.1 and stereo. I'm listening to the 5.1, and there's a down mix happening, which from my however many years of experience, that those down mix settings tend to preserve everything I'm doing in the 5.1 without doing a separate stereo mix. So you can see I'm just tickling the LFE, I'm not slamming it. And we're playing this grab here as like he pulled the trigger on the gun. We can't see it. There's no smoke. This is a super low budget thing without blanks or permits or anything. So, we're just trying to amplify things with this gunshot. So I'm going to bring up the highs on this, what I would call like the body of the gun. It's on Baker M3. And maybe shelve it. That's fine. Now this layer is a little more distant. And that one is super distant. Let me think. I might send this to, what do I have? I have 2 reverbs. I'll send this to reverb 2. It's a 5.0 reverb. I'll actually send both of these to it. So FX verb 2. I don't remember if I've used this before, this reverb send. Somebody asked in one of my other streams to show automation, like how I use preview. So all I do, I have a button on my keyboard that's mapped. You might be able to see it on the fader cam. This is like a Logitech gamer keyboard. And I've got, there's my lens cap for my GH5 that I'm streaming with. I've got G6. I think it was it G6? I think it was, oh, this is an OBS. Okay, there we go. So G6, I just tap it, and you can see I've got preview that turns on and off. So you can assign this to soft keys on like an S1 or a keyboard. It's cool, like in a couple versions back in Pro Tools, they opened up the keyboard shortcuts. So all I do is go and enter preview mode, and I grab whatever plugin I'm messing with. This is Phoenix Verb, which I've used for basically since it came out. It's a nice reverb. It's kind of like end of life because of Isotope buying it, and then Isotope getting bought by Native Instruments. So I don't know what's going on with this plugin. It might be smart to swap it out just so we can use like a reverb that everybody has. Don't sleep on Revibe. Revibe. Ooh, I've got automation data though. Let me see what I did here. It doesn't look like I've automated anything, so you know what, Pro Tools, I appreciate your warning, but I am gonna swap you out. Yeah, Revibe, don't sleep on it. It comes with Pro Tools. It doesn't sound buttery, you know, it's not gonna replace your $1,000 reverb plugins, but you can get some really good sounds out of it. And I've already got a preset for this. Let's bring up the center, bring up the rears. And actually I'm going to, there's a way, I'm trying to remember how to do this. The spread, that's right, the spread needs to go up. And then, oh yeah, and then the rear, there's a pre-delay there. Spread, the rear shape, you can tweak that to make a little bit more decorrelation between the front and rear channels. So I'm in preview mode, I've tweaked the plugin, and then I didn't say this when I did it because it's kind of built into my normal, you know, brain fuzz of how I operate. On a Mac, on my keyboard, it's Option Command question mark to write the automation to the selection. I'm just selecting, like, you know, what I want to automate. I generally will do clip by clip and section by section, so pretty much the workflow is enter preview, tweak the settings, and then Option Command question mark to write to selection, which is, I think it's this guy. Yeah. So that's all I'm doing. And then get out of preview mode. So now, when I listen to this shot, nice delay on it. Yeah, and that sounds about what I'd want. I'm going to pan, dynamically, I'm going to pan this crack, this stereo crack. Really get some motion on it. So with that super long pre-delay of like 160 milliseconds, you really get like a pretty big delay. It might be too much, so I might tweak it down. Oh, it's 150 milliseconds. I think I'll tweak it down to, man, my window's getting real crowded here. I'll just bring this down to like 80 because we're close. We are really close. Reverb pre-delay. Let's bring it down to like 80. Yeah. So now it's glued to the gunshot instead of being like, you know, completely in its own world. We don't have too much more on these B tracks. I think there's only 2 gunshots. We added some funny sounds there. And then here's him picking up the gun. Oh, let me do, it sounds fine. Sometimes with sound effects, like, you don't need to do a volume ride. I like to ride everything, but there's also the, you know, do I need to question. So you can do it just for ego's sake and to say you rode every track, but you don't always have to do that. But we'll just do a quick volume pass on this. Take it. Like, that's fine. It doesn't need any more than that. Okay, so now let's go to this. This is the final gunshot. So I'm just going like, oh, I missed this part right here. Gosh, and this thing is gonna really get in my way. Maybe I should, maybe there's a better, I could do Insight. That might be better. Insight you can kind of resize a little bit. So let's do, oh, what is it? Dynamic sound? It's Soundfield. That's right. Insight 2. Julian is another nice one. Actually, Julian is a little less CPU intensive, and I believe, let's see, I think you can, yeah, change the layout here. Distribution we probably don't need. And then that should be good. It's just so ginormous though. That's the thing. Yeah, we might have to use Insight. Insight is such a CPU hog though. And then can I make this any? I can make this smaller. Great. This is good. You guys probably want to see loudness and like the meters for where I'm putting stuff. Anoop, I am doing well. How about you? How are you doing? I'm glad to be here with you guys. Let me just check my email real quick. So I'm not on the clock yet, but I will be hopefully later today. Good thing is this little kind of what I thought would be like a day or two helper stuff has turned into like a couple days a week. So after not working for so long on any union stuff, and just the slow reset of the industry, which may never completely happen, I'm really thankful to be working. I like waltzed in here first day and I was like, yeah, I'm back in business. But not quite. Like it's still not, 5-6 days a week, but I'll take anything I can get. All right, that's just a grab. I'm gonna take the brightness down a little bit. Oops, I forgot to set the little red dot, the focus thing. It's my bad. Okay, so we're gonna take the brightness down on that specifically. That's fine, but the grab is just too, it just sounds like a sound effect. A little more, and a little low shelf lower too. Cool. Yeah, the thing with sound effects and in Foley that's not recorded to match is you really have to be judicious with like high pass, low pass, shelves, that kind of stuff. Otherwise it just sticks out like a sore thumb. You want everything kind of bedded into the soundtrack. So here is the final gunshot. Sounds good. I could probably throw some 5.0 reverb on just the like designy stuff. Not too much. Like I'm gonna pan this in the sound field so I don't need the reverb to muddy it too much. Let's just go track by track and listen. That's fine. Little dry fire there is good. So the nice thing about having stuff on the same tracks when you're cutting, like this is basically the same gunshot as this. It's just louder and it has more stuff added. But if you cut this way, then what you can do is just highlight the selection. Like back here, I did some EQ, right? Yeah, I did a little high shelf there. I didn't do anything there, but I did set levels too. But you can go back on your timeline and say, you know what? I like the settings I got for these tracks, and thankfully the editor has kept them consistent. This also works great for dialogue. If you have certain shots on certain tracks, then you can just say Option Command question mark and write the automation all the way down. So now my settings should have been transferred to this. I could even take, that crack and I dynamically panned it, but I want to keep the reverb send. And I also am going to want to basically, let me do this for this. This is the slap. So I'm going to do copy special, all automation. I believe you could set this to some keyboard. And then yeah, there's a shortcut for, yeah, repeat to fill selection. So it's Option Command V. I have to like slow down and remember what the keystrokes are because they're just like finger movements for me. And I have to like stop and look at the keyboard and be like, oh, what was that? Okay, so you'll see this is panned to the rear because I've written from the end of the clip where I dynamically brought it from front to back. So I'm gonna have to do a similar thing on this. Cool. And then do we need to add a sub hit for this? Maybe. We'll just use like the biggest. You can kind of read the waveform and see which, if you see this, you know, like fatter waves going up and down, they could even be complex waves. That generally means there's more low end in the file. Cool. Because this is the last one, I'm going to actually go a little bigger. Cool. And then we've got like a howitzer, and we've also got a reverse cannon into thunder. So let's bring the reverse from back to front, and then the thunder will snap to the rears. I'm going to do this half speed so I can get it right the first time. Still too slow because it's like a 2-frame gap. Cool, that's fine. I'll just make sure that clip is all the way written to the end, and then all right, let's just listen to these all together. I'll go ahead and give them a little fader bump. I can hear a little bird chirp on this howitzer cannon, which makes sense. They obviously can't record that inside. So I'm just going to help out a little bit with, let's just do a low pass. Low pass enable will be on, and we'll just kind of roll this down. That kind of deal where you start the low pass completely up, and then as the sound decays, you dynamically set it, lower the frequency, tends to work really well because it sounds naturally do that anyways. So that's a nice trick to have. It even works on dialogue. Let's see, we got time for questions. So Justin Chow asks, just curious, do you use clip gain when mixing, or is it always volume automation? To me, clip gain is really best done during the edit, whether you're editing sound effects or dialogue. It's important for gain staging purposes to have your clip gain set to where when you hit plugins on the tracks, they're hit with a nice healthy level. For dialogue, I will generally try to clip gain it to where an act, or maybe not a scene, but a section of the film or show averages to around -27, just because that's close to spec, and then the mixers aren't having to gain up their compressors like 20 dB just to get it close. For sound effects, I'll usually have my monitors at playback level, Dolby 7 or Dolby 5.5, and then I'll clip gain just based on what sounds good in the room or what's going on with the dialogue. But once I get to mixing, it's pretty much all faders. the exception to that is if there's a sound effect that I just want to grab the clip and say, you know what, this gunshot needs to be louder, and I don't want to grab faders, and I just Control Shift, scroll wheel it up or down. That can be faster than using faders, but you don't get the feel of the tactile, dynamic interaction with the material that you get with metal under your hands. And I've fought with like what control surface to get. I've historically cheaped out on them, and you'll see like even this I've got, it's, you know, it's a Preson. It's like the cheapest of the cheap. It's a fader port 16, but since I'm not professionally pursuing being like a union re-recording mixer, I pretty much do it on smaller indie projects, and then I pursue union work as a dialogue editor. I really don't need like an S6 or a bunch of S1s. A lot of people will have like 3 or 4 S1s linked together because I like having stuff I can just replace. This was like $1,000, and so if it dies, then I'll just, in 5 years, I'll buy another cheap control surface, and I'm not trying to impress people. So all I need is faders, and I need to be able to do pan and send and plug in automation sometimes. So as long as it covers my bases, that's good. But you can mix with a mouse. Just use automation in your mix, because that, once you're watching the screen, the big screen, not your Pro Tools screen, and you're moving stuff with your hands, that's where you get like that real, I don't want to say organic, but like the human feel to a mix versus just being a robot and doing like clip gain and grabbing, volume thing and doing this deal. That's not a performance as much as like grabbing faders and grabbing stuff and moving it around. Oh, let's see. In your 5.1 reverb, there's no reverb in the center channel. Is that true? It might be true, but let's see. Let's look at the reverb here and see what happens. You know what? This one, there's a glitch. So there is center channel stuff. But I've noticed there's an automation glitch with Revibe where the rear, it has to do with the rear link control. And yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Right there. Okay. So it should be fixed now. Okay, it's fixed. Yeah, it's a thing with this button right here. It doesn't get automated correctly, so you'll tweak the rear. I forget if it's early reflections or rear. One of these, you grab them and you bring it up in preview and you write to automation, and it's just like, nope, I don't care. It's going to be 0. But yes, there is level on all the channels now. It's actually clipping. It doesn't sound bad, so I don't care that it clips. It's fine. Okay, some more questions. You never use touch latch mode. I do sometimes, specifically for if the music is really loud, like a needle drop, like a song, like a Sum 41 song, and then people talk and I've got to bring it down, and it kind of just needs to sit down so that we can hear what they're saying. I will use latch mode there, because then I can just dip it and like move on to other stuff. But I'm generally writing tracks from the start of a clip to the end of a clip, so I like touch. What is it? Touch. I usually use trim because I'll use trim if like stuff is close, like either I've edited or it's already been pre-dubbed. But if you're mixing tracks that somebody else has done and they're not even close, like you're not going to use trim. But yeah, I'll use touch and trim a lot, most of the time. Latch I'll use for, like I said, music dips that just need to be hot and then dip down. But then I'll forget about it and I'll come back and it's like, now it needs to come back up. So I've just kind of gotten used to using touch and trim a lot of the time. Obviously, I go out of trim if I need to redo something or like really do some extensive moves, because trim kind of limits your fader resolution a little bit because of the way it operates. So yeah. Wasn't talking about this video. Sorry, I saw this in your reverb video. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what I did in my other videos? I definitely wasn't drunk when I made them, but you know, that's stuff that I made, and I try to do things pretty fast and maybe at the expense of accuracy. So if that's the case, very sorry about that. I'm going to globally bring this down a little bit. We're getting a little hot. I don't like to slap people in the face with my mixes. I'm not mixing to impress people or be like, look what a great mixer I am, or look how loud I can be. It's not like a power thing where I'm trying to enforce my will upon people. I want them to enjoy the film. So I'm going to turn this down. And in fact, let me do the clip gain turn down. So I'm just going to highlight, Control Shift, scroll wheel down, probably like 5 dB, I would say, and see where we're at. Cool. So the director might say, no, Tom, I really want this to be the loudest point in the film. Luckily, they're not here, so I don't have to listen to them, and I can just make it be whatever I want. The reason I'm not having this be super loud is because preceding this, it's very quiet. There's birds, there's a little bit of heartbeat. It doesn't have to be super loud, because in context, it plays as loud because, you know, stuff is not super loud before it. So, cool. We've got a fellow Oregonian, Tyrell Massey, listening from Sisters, Oregon. I'm also a stay-at-home mixer. I generally don't like driving through Sisters. It's always a huge traffic jam because of all the old people doing their antiquing and stuff. So it's cool that you live there, because you can, you know, like all the little shortcut that goes around the backside of town and all that. It's cool to have somebody from Oregon. You should come over and visit sometime. Okay, so B tracks, weapons, call that done. Now we get to do the fun stuff, which is going to be the cars. Kuruma. Los autos. Let's see what we got here. If I remember correctly, my VCAs, it is Charlie for truck, dog for bike, yep. And then we've got E is like the extraneous sound effects. So let's see what we've got. Let me just check my email real quick. Sorry I'm having to do this, but the boss said, I'm gonna need you today. So I kind of have to check back and forth. All right. There's a lot going on here. So I'm going to say, let me bank down on my control surface, and I'll bring up a lot of this stuff to start.
Hey man, I'm gonna need...
Cool, so I really brought up the door opening, not so much the clunk of it stopping, but then the hand hit, Kyle's hand hit on the door, I got that up. Let's move on to the next part.
Now get on!
Alright, this is a cool little pocket build of like a couple of rhythmic things. So we'll want to probably boost these. And I'm listening to the backgrounds of music because if you were to just solo this, you'd be like, oh, these are fine. And then you add everything, it's like, well, no, it's got to come up. Which camera is used to shoot the video? Anoop, are you talking about the stream, this camera that I'm talking to, or the short film because they're actually it's the same camera. It's a Panasonic GH5. That's right. I use that. Josh, the guy you see on screen, offered to bring some kind of fancy cinema camera. I was like, dude, this is not that type of film. This is a down and dirty run and gun. If we break my camera, it's fine. Okay, so the actual engine, like all this clicky stuff is fine. Maybe I'll boost the lows on this pedal hit. I mean, gas pedals don't really have much of a thump. But, you know, for the story, we'll do that. Now, we've got these engine sounds that are a multi-track recording, which is what you get with professional libraries. And so I don't remember if I aligned these. I'd have to go back to the video and see if I aligned them. I don't think I did. I might want to do that. Let me see how they sound together. Let's see what happens if we align these. The thing with stereo files is you have to decide, what do I align this to? Do I really want the stereo to be in phase? Because if they're in phase, then you lose the width, but you gain punch. So we'll try. I'm going to align these to the top track, which is, I think is the intake. It's the engine. It's close to the intake. We'll just see the difference here. Individual files, clip by clip, go for it. So I'm going to, they're already solo. Let's see. Now undo. It's a subtle difference. Yeah, I don't think we need to do that. I can't really hear like a big difference in there. So we'll just not worry about that. Okay. Let's see. That's cool. Yeah, short film camera is a Panasonic GH5. Not great, but affordable. Let's see, Martin S. Last one about ambient fades. Is the two cross fade frame a standard use? You'll maybe find some variation with that based on the supervising sound editor that you work with. So I don't want to say yes, but I've seen it quite a bit. So I would say it's pretty standard. You can go higher, you can go 4, but any more than 4 and it starts to feel soft. And actually sometimes 2 frames is too much. Sometimes you want to really feel the shift, and so you have to go with like 4 milliseconds. I've even done no crossfades for a very specific effect of like hard cuts, you know, on like a bad video edit. But we're talking like experimental film, not, you know, not a standard cinematic masterpiece that people want. Okay, so we've got the exhaust channel is going to be where the balls of the sound come from. And the intake or engine is going to be brighter sound, which has more air and like valve train sound. But the exhaust is where that like meaty, like, you know, the sound that kids make with their mouth when they're playing with Matchbox cars. So we're going to want to bring that up, and we might want to just EQ that to highlight the lower frequencies. It's really like low mids, like it's not subby stuff. That might be too much. And you see, I automated the frequency up to kind of track with the RPMs of the engine. And now we'll just boost that channel. Let me make sure you can see, oops, fat fingers. Make sure you can see the volume. That's fine. Let's see what happens on this cut. Probably also want to do that here. That's good. Maybe want to screechify that a little bit. And then the exhaust. There's a little decel on that. Let's hit that cut pretty hard. Cool. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's get out of it though. I'm gonna actually edit my automation here so that I don't want to assault people too much. Even though it's mostly low frequencies, I want to be loud and then kind of get out of it. And then for this shot, this is kind of a cool, this is actually me hanging out of the passenger door. You can see the door jamb there on the left. So probably want more tires in that. And then what's this? Yeah, I can bring maybe the tires and the screech up. Sometimes I'll, if I have time for it, I'll highlight the tracks in Pro Tools, and then on my mixer they'll be green. You guys can't really see it, but so I know which ones to grab. Okay, and then this here, we're just working on the truck right now, but this here is it, like just a single exterior recording of it going away. So that we can pan it, you know, off to make it more interesting. In the world, this would be going like, let's see, it'd be left and then left's around and then right's around. So it's going to be like a counterclockwise rotation. If you have the iPad app and an iPad and the Avid, you know, app, you can do this on the iPad. I don't have that stuff yet. I'm thinking about maybe getting one, but like I don't want to be a total Apple bitch. So I'm not quite sold on it. Convince me, I guess, and maybe I'll do that. And you'll notice I'm not adding reverb to this, even though I could. Like I could add a slap to it or whatever, because there's other things going on, and so the more things you have going on, I would say the less processing you kind of want to do to stuff, because you want like clarity. So I've just kind of gotten used to not doing reverb unless it really needs it. When things are slower and there's more space, the reverb is really useful to fill in kind of like sonic details. But like, I only add it if I listen to the sound or I listen to a composite mix and I'm like, nah, this kind of needs some space to it. Generally, the sounds by themselves work really well without a lot of processing, if they're cut right. Okay, so we've got that. I'm gonna let you guys vote. Just whoever answers first is gonna decide the route we take on this. Do you want to continue mixing the truck, or do you want to go linear so that, you know, what you see is what you get? So first one to answer, we'll decide that. Let me see if there's any other questions I can answer while I wait. Cool. Walk-in restaurant freezer for a studio would be really interesting. You'd have built-in insulation, probably pretty reflective to start with. Let's see. It's really cool talking to people from all over the world. That's like one of my favorite things about doing this YouTube channel. Anoop is from Mumbai. Like, that's so far away. I'd love to visit someday. I've worked with a number of Indian filmmakers and been introduced to some Indian culture, and it'd be cool to visit the country someday. Okay, Mike Wax says continue with the truck. Oh, Dane Smith said linear first, so I will do that. Okay, so we're just gonna go shot by shot then. Okay, so bike, switching down to the bike. I'll bank over. Actually need to do channel because I don't have 16 tracks. Okay, so bike, we've got, I cut a couple Foley type things that are tied to the bike, like the helmet and everything. So let's bring this stuff up. All that stuff is pretty good. I wrote it up a little bit, especially the ignition sound. If the sound is good, you don't really have to do much EQ to it unless it's like missing something or you want to amplify a certain aspect of it. But I see people doing all kinds of crazy like EQ shapes and even preset EQ that they have on every track. And I start with the completely flat. So I'm listening to just the raw sound with no compression, no EQ. So I can decide if it's missing something, then I'll process it. But the older I get, the less processing I do. And I really try to respect the work that the editors have put in, or the recordists or mixers, and just do like the least amount of processing possible. So this away, I've brought it up quite a lot, and it's, you know, maxed out at the end. So this is something where for really dynamic sounds like this, you can add a compressor. I'm going to see what I can do with clip gain. And I don't want it to clip. So I'm going to bring the head of it down now that I'm clip gaining it up, and then I'll just bring the volume down so that I get more range out of it. See, I clipped on the channel, so you don't want to do that. And I'll bring up the bass as it goes away too. Cool, so I've fattened that sound up quite a bit. We've got a gear shift. Nice. Let me really bassify this. All right, now we have a dance to do, because we're gonna hear both of these vehicles kind of cutting back and forth. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, Paul. Maybe it's probably a good idea to switch off of linear just because there's two sounds going at the same time. You could very easily do a VCA pass where you're just doing C and D. Maybe I kind of like to save the VCAs for the end, but we could maybe do that just to ballpark them. We could do that real quick. And luckily I've labeled C and D, so I can just two finger this with one hand.
Why'd you have to bring it back, man? What happened to the Dodge Caravan?
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over. I need it back.
Look, I know this is important to you, especially with everything that happened with your dad and all.
So give it back.
Well, can't do, buddy.
I hope your leg is healed up enough
To keep up with the champ.
Okay, so we kind of got stuff, you know, close to where it's going to be, and now we can open the sound effects back up and go, shot by shot and really dial these in. We haven't panned anything. It was really just to kind of set the levels. There was, before I do that, you kind of have to jump back and forth with this stuff. One of these futzes was just too loud to even hear.
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over. I need
The pullover, I need it back. I missed that. I should have brought up the head of that one.
pull over. I need it back.
Even more than that.
Pull over. I need it back.
I know that.
That's good.
I hope your leg is healed up enough.
Okay, bring that up a little bit.
I hope your leg is healed up enough.
To keep up with the champ.
All right, and I did just get the work text. So I'm gonna have to jump off of here pretty quick. But we got almost an hour done. Let's just finish the vehicles on this real quick. This will be good. First we did weapons, then we did vehicles. And then, I mean, really, besides that, we've got like backgrounds and Foley, so, and a couple other little spurious sound effects. So this is good. That would be a good spot for a little semicolon anyways. But let's finish this. We'll bring up the engine on the truck here. Really, mostly the base part of it, I guess. Another thing that really works well on cuts like this is just to mute one of the layers. Like I'm gonna mute the intake sound because we're not, we're looking back, so you really wouldn't hear much of that anyways. And I'll bring up the bike just as he gets closer, just help tell the story a little bit. Now here we're inside, so I'm gonna mute the intake, and I'm gonna pan, I don't think I'm gonna pan the exhaust, I'll just bring it down, I'll clip gain it down. So we're really just mostly hearing the interior. It's even got some wind buffets in there, that's cool. Actually, I'm gonna band limit this a bit, just so that we're not really hurting the other sounds. So I'll do a high pass at like 100. So again, preview, right to selection. That's the back and forth that I end up doing pretty much all day. And then maybe I'll bring, well, no, I've got the exhaust if I want to bring up more bass. I've got the bike panned hard left here. I think it's too loud just with all the other stuff going on, so I'm going to bring it down. It's a little too dead, so I'll bring the exhaust back in.
Why'd you have to bring it back, man? What happened to the Dodge Caravan?
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over. I need it back.
Look, I know this is important to you, especially with everything that happened with your dad and all.
So give it back.
Can't do, buddy.
I hope your leg.
Okay.
Just make sure the automation goes through all these cuts the same. Probably up till he punches it.
Important to you, especially with everything that happened with your dad and all.
So give it back.
Can't do, buddy.
I hope your leg is healed up enough.
And we'll bring that one down. You don't have to ride the faders on it. Like, you can see I'm just grabbing stuff and bringing it down a little bit. For dialogue, you can just quickly dip it that way.
Do, buddy.
I hope your leg is healed up enough.
To keep up with the champ.
So here, we're gonna really crank up this exhaust sound. Where are we at? There we go. And we're gonna bring the bass and the volume level up. You can see I did a combo of a band boost and then a low shelf cut, just because if you boost like sub 50, 60 hertz, you're eating up so much headroom in your mix. And you really don't need that for loudness. Like loudness really is mid-range. Good loudness is mid-range. Bad loudness is like super high frequencies, cover your ears. But the mid-range is where a lot of the power and the sound comes from. The like mids and low mids.
Camp.
Might even be too much.
Camp. Champ. To keep up with the champ.
I think there's a music thing going on there. He added like a little, this guy here. Yeah, that's too much. Maybe even lose that. Okay, so for this, these POV shots, I want to just boost the low mids a little bit because the recording's a little light. Cool, and then the buys, we need to pan those. So here's the truck. You can grab the little red puck if that's big enough for you, or you can pop this panner window open. A little too slow. There we go, and then this is a wood. Now we'll do front to back on that. You can see it's not quite perfectly synced up with the video, and I did that just to give space, because if you really have them where they are supposed to go, it just reads as one whoosh. So I had to like make the truck a little earlier and the bike a little later. The panning will definitely help that. Nice. And then for these, will I do this? I'll do this. We will, not this part. Let's do verb 2. I had like this. Yeah, that's gonna work. Bring the verb down when they're closer, and we'll do the same for the bike. Just shift it back a little bit. And I mean, I think I can just, right? Where did I have it? I had it there. So I think what I'll do is I'll just grab this, copy all automation, and I'll just do it for the whole shebang-a-bang. So I just did a fill paste there, and it should work. Let's see. Cool. It doesn't quite read as a slap, but I'm probably using too much of it. Might do better on the bike. Yeah, and it just needs to be less. So this shot here needs to be louder. And then where he loses him in the dust needs to be louder too. probably bring the truck down because it's the truck's POV, but it's really not about the truck. It's about him getting lost in the dust. And then we'll just pan these guys into the scene. All right. I'm going to say for our 1 hour of stream time that this is pretty good. It's good enough. Obviously I can do more, but I've got stuff to do. So I'm going to go here, face cam, and say thank you guys again for tuning in. We covered weapons. We covered vehicles. So next time we'll do the little extra couple of, phone blips, extra sound effects, Foley, and backgrounds, and we should have this thing pretty well wrapped up. So I don't know when that's going to be. It might be later this week. It might be Friday. Probably not tomorrow because it's Independence Day in the United States. And we're going to light off fireworks and throw beer cans at each other and do all the American stuff that we're supposed to do on that day. But maybe Friday, maybe next week sometime. Yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the support of my channel. Really appreciate it. It's really helped me maintain a, career, I guess, in audio post-production because when work slows down for like 6 to 9 months, it's tough. It's tough to stick it out. So I'm glad I did. Work is coming back, and I'm actually going to jump off here to start my day. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. If there's anything you want me to cover on the next stream, specifically, we're going to be focusing on Foley, backgrounds. Foley and backgrounds are going to be the main thing. So yeah, if you have any ideas, just let me know. I didn't hear where you're from. I'm from the United States of America. I've grown up all over the place. I don't really have like a hometown or anything like that. I mean, I have a place where I live, but I grew up moving a lot, so I'm kind of a gypsy, I guess, in that sense. So yeah, thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Hopefully it's within the next week or so. Have a good holiday if you celebrate, and have a good weekend. Goodbye.